You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
All right, folks, feeling good on a Tuesday. Let's keep it that way as we get set for Game 5 of the Battle of Ontario. The Toronto Maple Leafs trying to take their second crack at eliminating their provincial counterparts. It's Nick Alberga, Carter Hutton, presented by Bet365, the Tuesday edition of Leafs Morning Take. How are you, Huts?
Doing well, buddy. It's Tuesday, and it's what month is it now? April? We're getting close
April
to
29th today.
There's no snow. The first round is just buzzing along. The Leafs are up 3-1, a chance to close out at home. Things are good, buddy. This is a good time of year, and I love it.
The weather yesterday was exceptional. Walked home from the gym in shorts, man. You just got that buzz. You got that feel, but you got to have that killer instinct, man. That's what I think back to Game 5 tonight. I do not want any part of Canada Game 6 Thursday night. No, thank you.
No, you gotta step this one out, right? Because I still feel like the pressure is all on Ottawa, and if Ottawa is able to win this game, then it shifts. Then it shifts back to the skeletons in the closet. You know, the history of where it's been. The loss to the Habs being up 3-1. Imagine they lose. Oh my, I don't even want to talk about it. It would be don't. They got to do it tonight, and I think they got to get to their game early. They have to do it. I haven't liked anything I've seen from their net from Allmar. they got to get to the game early and set the tone at home. I hope the crowd is rocking to start. I guess watching all these other rinks where it's at, if there's a time for Scotiabank to show up, it's tonight, Nick.
Yeah, I'm not manifesting anything reverse. Like, got to take care of business. Craig Berube's here. This team's different. I'm going to stick with that mentality, and I've had no issue with the way they've played in this series, including Game 4 where they lost in OT on a Jake Sanderson winner. Our Super Chat charity partner this season is Sick Kids, Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. So I'm watching the games on Monday, and in the span of 11 seconds, I think the Tampa Bay Lightning pissed away the Battle of Florida. I think it's over. The Panthers up 3-1 in that series.
I know, a crazy turn of events, right? You know, for me, Tampa Bay getting that lead with their back-to-back goals and a couple of guys, getting on the sheet you don't see very often, finding the back of the net on the road with their veteran lineup, and then just to blow it. It's tough, right? Back-to-back goals like that against Florida. This Florida team looks dangerous, Nick. I was worried about this series, and if they can get out of this series in 5 games, if they can go to Tampa and win that, again, now they're rested. I don't know. I was hoping this series would go 7 and they would beat the hell out of each other. But right now, Florida looks really good.
Man, it's like the Panthers have a different standard in how they're officiated. I do not know how Aaron Ekblad got away with that. And then just adding to the disbelief, he ends up scoring the game-time goal. After initially scoring the game-time goal, it came back due to the offside. Then he does it again. And I agree. I think this Panthers team is scary. You add Seth Jones into the equation, Brad Marchand, Barkov, Bobrovsky's been really, really good here. It's, you don't want to look too far ahead. The Maple Leafs still got to take care of business here against the Ottawa Senators in Game 5 and moving forward. But the Panthers are going to be an extremely difficult out. They're well coached. And again, they pounce on your mistakes. And that's a good thing, I think, a positive when you look at this Leafs series. They haven't made that many mistakes, and they've played the simple game. That's the way you have to play. Patience, I think, is a virtue in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
It is, too, and not overextending yourself, right? I think that's something that's so important where you need to stick to your game. And again, circling back to the Leafs, I know it's been fun to watch all the series, right? It's the best time of year because there's games on every single night, but this is, I think, a Leafs team now where because of the process that was put in place throughout the regular season, they don't overextend. They're not behind in a game. They're not wherever they're at in the game. You know what you're going to get, right? They keep churning ahead. They keep playing the right way, playing direct, getting pucks on the net, being simplifying at times, right? But at times they still have the firepower to make big plays and game-changing plays. You look at Matthew Knies' breakaway the other night. Like there's so many good things that this team does. But I think the template is put in place and the non-negotiables that Craig Berube have, we're seeing in full effect right now. And the consistency of their play is, I think, a benefit of it. Where last year we'd be sitting here pounding our heads against the wall, Nick, because of the fact they're trying to play run and gun. They're trying to create so much more. And it's hard to do that in the playoff atmosphere. So right now I love where they're at and where it's going. And yes, it's a tough loss and there's always storylines around this team. But that being said, we have to love the regular season process, right? And I think that's what gives us this product right now.
In support of Sick Kids, Emrush, thank you so much for the Super Chat. Not Stoley hate, but playing him too much could risk injury with him. Giving Wool a game could keep Wool fresh and prevent a scary Wool-Murray tandem. It's like somebody watched Morning Cup of Hockey yesterday, I believe, or was it Daily Face-Off Live, where I think Mike McKenna came on and vouch for his boy, Joseph Woll. I just don't believe in that. And you can speak higher to this. You're a former goalie in this league and the whole rest conversation. But I would go with my guy. And traditionally, Berube's a guy who goes with this guy too.
Yeah, for sure. I saw Mike on there, and I love Mike's analysis. I think Mike's a very smart goalie, very successful goalie. He's played for a long time, and you can get into the nuts and bolts of it. But I think a character game right now at home is going with Anthony Stolarz. I think it's Anthony Stolarz' crease to finish unless something really bad happens. And again, we see that all the time. We see Hellebuck fall from grace and those 2 games on the road. But the difference in that is the backup is he's inferior to Hellebuck and Comrie, where, Wool and Stolarz flip a coin. I think each guy can get it done. But at this point, he is your guy. I think communication is huge with Wool and with Stolarz. But that being said, there's an extra day rest before this game. And I think for Stolarz, I know he hasn't played these situations, but normally in a regular season, you're grinding in practices, you're grinding in pregame skates, where right now you're in game mode. So he's got to play that game. Everything else is just adjustments on the fly, right? Whether it's total days off, whether it's getting out on the ice and just taking a few shots, whether it's literally putting on we have VR headsets now where you can get reps in and train your eyes and keep your timing going. So I think that being said, I don't think this is worrisome at all by me. I think Joseph Woll, that's a bit of a stretch right now. Stolarz hasn't really lost a crease by any means. He just won 11 straight games, and he lost one. But this is the business we're in, right? There's storylines to talk about, and we find a way to, bring it to the forefront.
Unsurprisingly, he's on the ice for the morning skate as Stolarz, and he's projected to be the starting goalie here for Game 5 of the Battle of Ontario. As we speculated upon yesterday, no Joseph Woll at practice. He was under the weather. So as far as we know, Joseph Woll is going to back up tonight. Should mention as well, head on over to nationgear.ca where you can pick up your Now We Go t-shirt, our official playoff merchandise here over at the Leafs Nation for the 2025 Stanley Cup playoffs. You see the 3 shirts on your screen right there. I have all 3 of them. My favorite one's probably the black one, but they all look great in person. So make sure you pick one up right now, nationgear.ca. And as Zach Phillips astutely put in the chat moments ago, the Leafs Nation is 3-0 at Greta Bar here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So the one game we did not do at Greta Bar, the Maple Leafs lost, which tells you a good omen for tonight's game because we're all going to be down at Greta Bar, myself, producer Vic, Zach Phillips. We're doing the TLN pregame show coming up at 6 p.m. Eastern time, so tune in for that here at the Leafs Nation 401. But Zach's going to be on location as well for After Dark. It's a good omen for the Maple Leafs, I think.
Yeah, it is good. I know Zach was beating that drum, and I was giving him a hard time, in our little group chat here, at Leafs Morning Take, and just the fact of the matter is, I used to always love it when I would talk to fans, and we were on a winning streak, and they'd be like, "Well, I've been wearing my lucky socks," and I'd be like, "Oh man." This is the boys are going to take care of business, whether you're at Greta or not, in my opinion. I think tonight is the night, but I love it. I think what I love about hockey and I love about sports is it brings people together, right? And it makes, you invest in it and you love it. And I think being removed from the game now, how much more that means to me. Because I think when you're in the moment, the noise is just everything else is going on. You don't even care. You're so caught up in that. But being part of it, it's way more emotionally tied because you have no control, and it's going to be fun. And I know tonight will be raw. I'm coming on Leafs After Dark actually with Zach, so you better bring his game. I might have to have a few sociables by myself here. Make sure I'm at the same level he's at.
Yeah, exactly. And again, full reaction for Carter Hutton coming up in the Leafs Nation After Dark. If you have no plans for the game just yet, I got a perfect location for you. Come join us at Greta Bar YYZ, 590 King Street West. We're doing watch parties all Stanley Cup playoffs long, including, as we talked about, TLN pregame, After Dark, giveaways, everything you need to turn game night into a full-on Leafs party. To book your spot today, check out gretabar.com or the Open Table app. So coming up on today's podcast, of course, we'll tee up Game 5 here of the Battle of Ontario. And Bruce Boudreau, former Toronto Maple Leaf, big-time Toronto Maple Leafs fan, is going to drop by in about 5 minutes here, Huts.
Bruce, there it is, baby. I love Bruce. He's always got a good take and just a great guy in general. So I love picking Bruce's brain. And honestly, for a guy who is so down to earth and such a good human, it's amazing how much, he used to command NHL players and run a room and everything he's done. So it'll be great to pick his brain. We've done lots of work with him over the years here now, getting to work in media here. So I look forward to hearing his take, right? Because he's always got some little tidbits of stats and things that he runs off of. And I love when he brings his experience into play.
At the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com and support us sick kids. Leafsland, thank you so much for the super chat. Whoever wants to take Stoli out for game 5 is either A, on crack, or B, has lived in Oshawa too long. You don't pull him for a loss. So maybe producer Vic's from Oshawa.
Yeah, I agree. Taking him out is nuts, man. Like, that's like a crazy.
Why do you gotta hunt down Oshawa, the beautiful city of Oshawa, like that, Leaf?
That's a good hit. I don't even know where Oshawa is. I have no idea.
Wow.
If it's Toronto area, it's Toronto area. It's all the same. But I'm from Thunder Bay, where it's like you're either in Thunder Bay or you're in the forest. Okay. So there's not city after town after. My first time going to Toronto was like a culture shock as a kid, right? Because there's so much population. Is the concrete jungle to me.
What's the population of Thunder Bay? Is it just like, you, Matt Murray, and the Stolarz, or?
Yeah, it's a pretty good population then, if you ask me. 115,000. I think that's where we're at. 115, give or take. Okay. I think it fluctuates a bit, but it's big enough that we have enough amenities and stuff, but sometimes too small. Where it's like if I'm going to go to the grocery store, fly under the radar, you're bound to run into someone you know.
We'll need to get you down maybe for a game in Oshawa. Go watch the Jennies or something like that, and we'll get your reaction to being in Oshawa, Ontario, and maybe you'll understand Leafsland and that super chat a bit more.
Is Oshawa where Tavares played? Right. Yes. So I did an exhibition game there. We went.
There you go. You've been Oshawa then.
I've been to Oshawa. I played an exhibition game. Made me think of it. Jarred my memory. Is we had a preseason game there in the NHL because it was for John Tavares, and that was when he didn't sign with the Islanders. So we had to go up to Oshawa to play this exhibition game, and Tavares wasn't even there.
Oh,
Johnny T.
I forgot about that. The fact that they had that game scheduled, and then JT just decided for greener pastures to go back home to Toronto, which I adore. But yeah, it was a pretty impeccable junior hockey career in Oshawa. Mind you, I covered JT randomly enough. He was traded to the London Knights to finish off his junior career, and I saw him as a member of the London Knights on a stacked team. And ironically enough, that team could not get a save, and they lost to the Windsor Spitfires, I believe, in round 2. Who are also a really good team. So
yeah, usually, and it always circles back to goaltending, right? It's something that we see all the time. And I always make the quote. I brought this up the other morning with Morning Cup of Hockey with Colby Cohen, Jack Parker, the BU legend, said it should be called goaltending instead of hockey. Because at the end of the day, like if you don't have good goaltending, it's going to make a big difference. And we look at anyone who's won the Stanley Cup, like Darcy Kemper's probably the last guy that never had a great save percentage to win a Stanley Cup in the recent history, but they could just outscore teams. That's how good that Colorado team was.
Jose Duarte, thank you so much for the super chat. Austin Matthews hat trick. Wow, that's a pretty bold, gutsy call, but I'll take it here in game 5 of the Battle of Ontario Leafs and the Ottawa Senators from Scotiabank Arena. But yeah, that's just a big topic du jour in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I love when you co-host with me because your boy Freddie Anderson, check please. Don't want to play anymore. Sorry, bud. Kochekov's in.
Like, is it not nuts? My good buddy Nevin Hamilton, I played NCAA with him. He texted me right away when he went down, being like, "I am so sick of." I should have got a group chat going with you because he was like, "Man, what happened to all the men? Like, what happened to being healthy?"
They're gone.
The one that blows my mind, honestly, that like actually makes me upset was the Logan Thompson one. Like Logan Thompson left that game like it was a career-ending injury. And then he comes back and plays. Like, how don't you play through that? Like, this is wild to me. I feel like I'm usually quick to defend guys, Nick, and like get a little defensive. But man, it's getting to a point now where it's like a wrong flyby goes and you're toast for the game. So Freddie Anderson, shocker, hurt playoff time. What a killer that guy is.
Allergic to the crease. If you're that guy's agent, A, how are you still his agent? B, how are you getting paid in the offseason? He's a free agent on July 1, and there's going to be some dumbass GM out there that's going to pay this guy, whether it's, I don't know, Edmonton. Like, and then they're going to get to the playoffs and like, oh, this guy, he takes the option in playoff games. Yeah, that's going to go over well. I just don't know how you pay the guy. I really don't.
I don't know how you do too, especially at his age and what he brings to the table at this point. And honestly, I hate to say this, but what if Hellebuck drops 2 more games? Like, does he just become
what is
a guy
his deal, by the way? How do you go from like Vezina, top 3 goaltender of all time, back-to-back Vezzies, maybe a Hart Trophy, to like barf mode in the playoffs?
Like, so I'm trying to analyze this and trying to make sense of the playoffs and where he's at. Like, I don't know if this is the fact that there's just no more fluff in the league. Like, all the bad teams are gone and there's going to be teams that drive the net, make it harder on you. But he looks like he's stuck in the mud right now. Like that Robert Thomas goal, he bites so hard on a fake. He has no movement. He's so locked in his edges. So it's been tough to watch. So that's why when I I hear like taking Anthony Stolarz out of the game, it blows my mind because you have a guy that is humongous, that plays his position well, that has that, but then he also has the athleticism to make secondary saves and make saves out of position. So that is a really big value. And when you look at guys that have had success in the NHL recently in the playoffs, it's all guys that can compete, that have athleticism. You look at obviously Aiden Hill played the best hockey of his life for the Vegas Golden Knights that year, but I also think he was very protected. You look back at obviously Braden Holtby winning a cup, how good he was, athleticism. You look at Vasilevsky, you look at Bobrovsky, all these guys that compete. But when you look at Connor Hellebuck, he's a guy that just sits there and lets the game come to him. And I just think maybe it's the playoff atmosphere. It doesn't adjust because you see his interview yesterday. It doesn't seem like he's struggling mentally. Like, obviously, of course, he's going to say that he's going to play better and be better. But that being said, I think you need a goalie that has some athletic ability for secondary saves in the playoffs.
Telling you what, brother, we need a goaltending summit in this league. Like, these guys just cannot stay in that crease. In support of Sick Kids, thank you for the super chat, Devlin Foyston. I think it's going to be Willie's night, doing what he does, skating circles around everyone and taking charge of the game in the way only Willie can. And I think that's what you're hoping for from the Maple Leafs perspective. There's 4 guys specifically you pay a lot of money to. This is your moment to shine. Game 5, Battle of Ontario. This interview is brought to you by our friends over at Greta Bar. Whether it's before, during, or after the game, it's the place to be on King Street West. Awesome street food and wicked arcade games. 590 King Street West. Greta Bar. Let the games begin as we bring in the one and only Bruce Boudreau. Gabby, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
In a hotel room waiting to go to work at the NHL Network. So this is
Love
great.
it.
Work. Hey, Brucey?
Just anything to get out of the house. You know that.
Well, we're fired up. Game 5 here with the Battle of Ontario. What's been your read on the series thus far?
Well, I mean, first of all, I thought the Leafs were absolutely outstanding last game. And I thought they played the perfect game and lost. But, I mean, I think Ottawa deserves one game, and they got their one game. And, I mean, even though 3 games have been in overtime, I think the Leafs have been the better team all the time. And I think they'll finish it tonight. But, I mean, it's been a good series. I mean, I wish it was in the 80s or 90s where there'd be a little more violence in the Battle of Ontario. But it's just the way the game's played now.
Yeah, they've obviously got away from that, right, Bruce? The skill comes over and it takes over. And again, we're talking about coin flip games here, right? 3 games going to overtime and where they've been. But, if Matthews took a rest day yesterday, you've been a part of the playoffs. Is there anything to read into that? And what's your takeaway from his performance so far in this series?
Well, first of all, we're talking where it's, almost May. They don't need to be on the ice. Like, I mean, my best experience is when we were in the conference final and we'd gone through 7-game series and everything. I mean, I didn't want these guys to practice at all. Stay off the ice. I mean, if anything where you need to get your legs going, you take a morning skate. But other than that, they've played almost 100 games now. They don't need to be on the ice every day. It's the equipment, putting in the equipment, as you know, Carter, on and off every day. That's the most tiring thing. When you get out there and you shoot pucks, that's okay. But I mean, it's just a drag putting on the equipment. But the series itself or what Austin Matthews, like, I mean, I think we all get a little wound up because he's not being dominant offensively, but he's playing a very sound game. Like, I mean, he is playing in a completely different role than he's had in the past, where he just was supposed to score. Now he kills penalties. Now he takes faceoffs. Now, he's out there all the time when you need a last minute guy. And so, I mean, the goal scoring, I mean, he's been there, done that. He doesn't have to, like, there'll be a time, maybe next year he's going to get 60 again. But I think right now he's pretty happy in the leadership role that he has, that he's doing everything all over the ice and he's doing it well. And it's one of the reasons that the Leafs have been so successful recently, or all year, actually.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think we're all waiting for that signature moment or game for Austin Matthews and the core 4 in general. Is that your belief that it's going to be these guys that get this team over the top here in round 1?
Well, you know what? I don't think it's a core 4 anymore. It's a core 5. Like, I mean, Matthew Knies is a rising superstar to me. Like, I mean, I'm not putting him in this category as a goal scorer, but he's got Jaromir Jagr's size at 6'3", 220 pounds, and he's like a bull in a china shop. And like, I mean, he doesn't mind the rough stuff. But the move he made in the goal in Ottawa I said, wow, that's skill right there. And he's got that kind of skill. And he's only been in the league 2+ years. And I can, and he's young. I think next year is going to be the breakout year where he's going to get 40, especially if they sign Marner and Tavares and they keep the units together. So, I mean, but I think the core four has been great. I mean, I think, I mean, they play a different style where they're not going to score 6-7 goals every game. They're going to defend. I mean, let's face it, they block more shots than any team in the league. They're all 5 guys are back in the middle of the ice underneath the circles. I mean, I think it's great commitment by the Leafs and to playing the way Craig wants them to play. And that's why I think they're going to be successful this year.
Now, Bruce, obviously it's Leafland, right? So there's always something to talk about the crease and with Stolarz and where you're at. And I think back to when you were with the Ducks with John Gibson and Frederik Andersen, when we started against you when I was with the Preds, and John Gibson started the series, and you're quick to go to Frederik Andersen. How quick are you to pull the trigger when you have a goalie like Anthony Stolarz and a goalie like Joseph Woll, where the separation isn't much? You have 2 kind of 1A, 1B. Like, how do you play that out moving forward if you're Craig Berube?
Well, to me, if Stolarz went in the net, and he's going to be in the net, I'm assuming tonight,
yep.
that and he had a clunker, then is the time to go. The last thing I wanted to do, and the reason I made the change in that series, because we were down 2-0 when I changed from Gibson to Andersen. I mean, at 3-0, you can imagine yourself if Pekka is down 3-0 and they say, "Okay, Carter, you go in and win the series for us." It's it's quite a lot of pressure on him. You don't need to do that. Like, I mean, so you do the game tonight and he plays. If he plays great, obviously you win the series. You're starting with him again. If he doesn't do good, then you've got the ability to make one move and put in Joseph Woll and put him in. And then if he doesn't do well, you come back with Stolarz for Game 7. So we'll see how he does tonight. Look, he had won 11 in a row. I mean, you're allowed to have one little hiccup here. I mean, you just don't want it in the playoffs to be 2 or 3 hiccups.
Gabby, how important is it for the Maple Leafs to close this one out tonight?
Well, I mean, if you don't want to read a newspaper or watch a TV or listen to a radio show, you better close it out tonight, because it's just the way Toronto is, and we all know it. And it's it would be all the talk of everything. I mean, nobody would even know there was an election yesterday if the Leafs lose tonight.
Yeah, I don't know what'll be worse, but honestly, Brucey, like when you look at this lineup, right, there's been Robertson obviously going out, Pacioretty coming in, a loss. Like in my past, and you've watched a lot in the playoffs, when there's a loss, there's usually a little bit of a change on the perimeter guys, right? Is there a change you think that we see tonight for the Leafs?
I would put Robertson back in myself, but I mean, I think they wanted to get the bigger, more physical guy. But to me, what's working with the Leafs is their speed and their quickness and their ability to check. I know Max has got the experience and everything else, but I think he's slowed down quite a bit, and he doesn't play on the power play. I mean, you could say he's on the second unit, but what do they get? 15 seconds? It's pretty hard to mount something when that happens. So I'd go back to the lineup that won them the first couple games and go from there. But that would be all. There's not much else you can do. Their defense are playing fine. I mean, you might allot a couple more minutes to somebody who you think is going well, or delete a couple minutes to somebody that's not going well. I mean, I wouldn't put it in the Los Angeles Kings boat where 4 defensemen play 30 minutes or anything. I mean, I don't think that's what the Leafs are about. I think that they've got 6D that play pretty good minutes, and they're all contributing. So I wouldn't change too much. I would say, hey, listen, they lost a game in overtime that I thought they should have won, and what did they allow Ottawa? 6 shots for 2 periods. I mean, you can't play much better than that. So, I mean, and they're in their building tonight. I think it's going to be a fairly loud building when they feel they can clinch the series. So I'm expecting them to finish it off. I'm expecting Ottawa to put up a good fight, but in the end, Ottawa, hey, we won a game. That's their reward.
Always careful with the morning skate, but it looks like the Leafs are not going to make any lineup changes here for game number 5 of the Battle of Ontario. Let's talk matchup game a bit because I think that's obviously a big story, and I think you look at the home ice success throughout round 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's been really, really impressive. If you're Craig Berube, what kind of matchups would you look to exploit here tonight?
Well, I mean, to me, Toronto's a best on best kind of team. They play their best against Ottawa's best, and that allows the minutes to be what they want to be. Because if you all of a sudden put the third line, say you've got a checking line, and you want to put them against, say, Kachuk's line, and if I'm the coach in Ottawa, I'm just double shifting the Kachuk line because that's keeping the Matthews and the Tavares line off the ice. So I think with Toronto, it's a best on best kind of situation, and that's what would work. I mean, I'll take my best against your best, and my second best is better than your second best. Then when the third and fourth lines get out there, I still like the way they play, and I mean the speed they bring to the game, and you throw Max Domi's line out there, who's been pretty successful, and with zone time and everything else against whoever they've played. So I mean, I'm thinking, I'm not telling anybody, but I'm thinking, hey, we're the better team. I'm just going to play these guys and not try to overcoach anything where I screw it up by overcoaching. I know what I've got, and I'm going to play it that way.
Yeah, Bruce, I've heard you say that before about overcoaching, and I think that's like a good point, right? And I feel like I've been part of teams where sometimes the micromanaging and makes things trickier. I got 2 quick questions here. Last for me, Brucey. What's your message to this team before game 5? And how many beers you got in that Gatorade cooler?
Yeah, what's in that cooler, Gabby?
That was listen, my wife makes me, when I'm in a hotel for 3 or 4 days, she wants me eating properly. And as you can tell with my body that I eat properly. But there's nothing in that cooler anymore. She put it all in. And I wish there was a half a dozen beers, because all I do is sit in the room and watch hockey games at night. So it's, I mean, that's what it should be. But so I forgot your first part of the question. The
message. What's your message to the team before tonight?
My message to the team is you're the better team. You guys go play like you can, like we've been playing. Don't deviate from that. Let's not all of a sudden think we have to score 3 goals in the first period to win. Or we feel good when the score is tied. We feel good when it's a close game, and we usually come out on top. So just play the same way, but let's end it tonight. Let's not go on any further. Let's end this thing tonight.
Finish them, if you will. Gabby, you're the man. You're the best. Thank you so much for your time today, and we'll talk soon, okay?
All right, you guys take care. We'll see you soon, okay?
See you, Bruce.
Sounds good.
Bye.
There is Boudreau, hardcore Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and I know a lot of people in the chat were asking what was in the cooler. We got an answer. There is nothing in the cooler. Just a great breakdown there from Gabby Boudreau.
He's the best. So I've been fortunate enough when I've done some serious radio to have Bruce on, do like a discussion room, and I always love it. And I love the points, and I think that's something he's brought up before, and I've heard him talk about that. Like, if he could go back to some of those playoff moments, is not overcoaching. Not trying to match lines. And he said sometimes being on the road, it felt like it was easier to just let the game become itself and it develop itself, instead of where you're at home and you're worried about last change. You get caught up in the matchups instead of just letting your guys go and find their game and find their identity. So I think that is some wisdom that you gain through being in playoff series. And again, looking at someone like Craig Berube, who seems to be unwavered by the moment, which is going to be super important in a game like tonight, because elimination games are tricky. It's no joke trying to knock a team out of the NHL playoffs.
It is not. At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Hope you enjoyed Bruce Boudreau. And I love how much of an afterthought the NHL awards have become. There's not even an award show this year. And the NHL, I guess, dropping earlier today as we went to air, the Hart Trophy finalists. No surprise that it's going to be, NHL reveals Hart Trophy. Oh, Norris. I was like, Hart Trophy, why are these guys on this list? So the Norris Trophy finalists, Quinn Hughes, Cale Makar, Zach Werenski, man, that is a 3-pack of stud defenseman I've ever seen it.
Yeah. Especially Werenski this year. You know, he really like catapulted himself into that like elite
So good.
upper category, right? Again, Makar, it seems like he's going to be here for eternity until he wants to shut it down, how good he is, and Quinn Hughes. So it's going to be a dogfight, I think, to see who wins it. I think you can make an argument for everyone. I don't know who you have as your front runner in that, but I guess I'm maybe biased toward Makar just because he is always so just dynamic and explosive what he brings to the table.
You can make an amazing case for all three guys, man. The Norris is an amazing award this year. I'll be frank in saying I had a flyer on, I took a flyer on Werenski to win the Norris. It's not going to happen. I think it's going to go to Cale Makar. But, man, the evolution of young defensemen in this league is just out of this world right now. It's insane, man. Imagine playing behind, as a goalie, playing behind one of those guys. Insanity.
Oh, it's crazy too. And I explain that to in smaller terms, obviously. Like, so my son plays, they're just like, they do a little spring hockey thing. And one of our better players is one of the defensemen. But trying to explain to a kid that like being a D-man doesn't mean you're not going to score goals. Being a D-man means like you have like a leash to go and that's
more ice time.
Now it literally like looks like you watch Hudson play, like he's like a pond hockey player. Like he's going, always creating. It's wild how like their skating ability is so good. And I'm with you on Werenski. I think he's really identified his game and what he has become. And if Columbus were to sneak into that second wild card spot, then I think we're sitting here. You could really make a bid for why he could win the Norris because of the fact where he pushed that team to this year.
My Norris winner is Chris Tanev, by the way, because he's so damn good. No, but the Leafs D has been such an epic story, I think, in this series. And I've seen a couple different stats, obviously not in favor of the Maple Leafs. The big 1-12 in potential series clinching games since 2017. But man, for me, like there's a reason why you got Craig Berube for moments in games like this. I've been around the team quite a bit here in the first round. As you guys all know, I was in Ottawa doing the show on location at Canadian Tire Center. So I was in the room. I was at game 2, the Max Domi winner. There's a sense of calmness and professionalism. Like they're dialed in. Not to say they weren't under the previous, administration, but it's just like a really weird calmness and confidence. And I haven't seen that from this Maple Leafs team. And maybe it comes down from the head coach. There's just no panic. Even after the game the other night, I was in the room there doing the press conference, and there was just absolutely no panic whatsoever from the head coach. And I really, truly feel that goes down to the rest of the guys. And again, you can speak to that. You've been in an NHL room, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think you're bang on, Nick. But I also feel like this isn't something that's just built in this moment. This is something that's been built throughout this year, throughout the relationships, throughout the building of, the
learning lessons.
Yes, there you go. And the fact of the matter is, like, he's pulling guys aside constantly throughout the year, having one-on-one conversations with them, building an identity, building a relationship off the rink, which is so important. And then in those moments, he knows where to poke and to prod and to challenge and to get the best out of his players, because that's what a coach does. Is he's got to peel back a few layers and figure out what makes somebody tick. And now when you are in these moments, you have guys and you led by example all year. You get your big stars to lead by example, to buy into where you want to be. So when you are in this moment, you have it. You have that relationship and you have the core because you've built it, the foundation. I shouldn't say core because that's a trigger word here in Toronto, but you've built that foundation all year to be in this moment and not be fazed by it because you've built it and you're ready to go.
To support Gabby's argument on Austin Matthews, and I know there's going to be pushback in this market because you don't pay this guy in excess of $13 million to be a Philippe Deneau light, or maybe a better option than Phil Deneau, but he has been much better defensively. If you guys recall going into this season, a lot of conversation in various media spaces in this market. Hey, would you take 40 goals from Matthews and the Leafs go further? A lot of people said yes. Well, that seems to be happening. I know he didn't score 40 goals, but the attention to detail all around his full game, I think, has really, really evolved and taken that next step under Craig Berube. And these numbers give light to that and give credence to that. Toronto has outscored Ottawa 5-0 at even strength and 10-1 in all situations when Austin Matthews has been on the ice. Take that in, breathe that in. He has had a very dominant series. I know the numbers don't suggest that, but that tells me otherwise right there, Huts.
And I agree. And I think that's something that's so important, right? And I think when when Bruce said that, it kind of jarred something in my head to think about is when we view Sasha Barkov, right? Yeah. Like if he has a series where he doesn't produce, he's in 4 games, he has 4 assists, right? Matthews is producing more and he's defending just as well as Sasha Barkov. But if you were to if you didn't know the players, right, and you just said like, hey, player A and player B has this points, but how they're defending, that's your argument right there, is the fact of he's transformed his game into a playoff winning style, right? And I think when I look back on that, I look at the identity of the Washington Capitals that year when Barry Trotz came in there and was like, hey, Ovi, hey, Backstrom, boys, this is the way you guys play, but if you want to win a Stanley Cup, you have to play this way. It kind of gives me that vibe a little bit, and I think that's what's been built throughout this season.
And as many of you have astutely pointed out in the chat, it was the Pinto Shorty, the only goal against with Austin Matthews on the ice. And again, it's so polarizing because we talk about a player who scored 69 goals in one regular season, and I get that, and you expect him to score 12 goals a game, but I think he's at his moments. I still feel like something's a bit off with Austin Matthews. I didn't go off yesterday, but certainly had my questions as to how this guy needs a rest day a week into the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I have every right to feel that way, in my opinion, Huts. Like, when have you seen an athlete go to a different continent to figure out something with his injury the way we did and saw that unfold in November with Austin Matthews? And considering last year's postseason, the uncertainty and questioning around his health there, anything's going to trigger me. And the fact that he wasn't on the ice yesterday scares the hell out of me. Back on the ice today, so that's good news. And he's been good in this series, noticeable. Like, in general, that's why I feel this team is different. I've watched the core four in this series. Have they been amazing Hall of Fame worthy? No. Have they been shit? No, they haven't. They've done their thing, and they're a big reason why they're up 3-1 in this series, in my opinion.
And again, that being said, though, Nick, like, we're okay with it being average as long as they're winning games, as long as it's depth throughout the lineup, as long as it's guys buying into playing the right way, because we've been through this song and dance for so long before, right? Of the run and gun, trying to outscore teams. And then they end up get to the playoffs and they can't score worse shit. What was it? 13 games they had where there was only maybe 1 or 2 games over 2 goals.
Yeah.
During that stretch of this last run, where now it's like we're producing, but we're also defending. So it's like you're getting more like, because you're defending and playing the game the right way, you're creating more offense off of that. And that being said, with Austin Matthews, I think we'd be lying if there isn't a little bit of worry, right? It's just like we talk about with players getting hurt and injuries and guys that, we talk about Frederik Andersen. If you're Carolina Hurricanes, before that playoff started, you're worried about it. So I think these are things that are identifiable. And to us, until you prove us wrong, we're going to have a little bit of hesitation, with injuries and where he's at. But that being said, I don't know. Is he just putting so much into the games that they know he's ready to go? And, just to play devil's advocate against you here, where he's a mature player and now it gets to a point where pregame skates have become like less and less, and even practice at this point. Like, if your team isn't ready to go, you wouldn't be here. So that being said, we want a fully rested, healthy Matthews, the best of his ability right now during this season.
Yeah, but my question, and who knows, they really haven't given any insight as to, is he close to 100%? Is he 75%? But like John Tavares, for example, leaves that game, goes to the quiet room. He's on the ice on Monday for practice on election day. And Matthews isn't Canadian. So like, why does he care about the election? I'm just making stories up now. But like, there's always going to be that level of concern from my perspective. But there would be higher concern if he was nowhere to be found in this series. And that hasn't been the story whatsoever. But I think you look forward at Game 5 tonight. Goaltending is going to be a big story. Stolarz getting the call, 3-1, 2.29, a 9.02, and special teams staying disciplined. Watching Game 4 and that Max Domi penalty in the first period, you can't do that type of shit. And it was you knew it was going to happen, that Ottawa would score on that power play. Discipline's got to be a thing. When you get your power play opportunities, you got to cash, and you got to get those timely saves. It's an easy formula, in my opinion, how the Leafs are going to win Game 5 here.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think getting the first goal tonight will be huge. I think generating that energy in the building and letting Ottawa kind of overextend themselves playing from behind will be really important too for this team. But that being said, you got to play within the whistles, right? You have to be smart. You don't want to shoot yourself in the foot, because 5-on-5, like Bruce said, and Bruce, you're going to pound it into him. You are the better team. You are the better team. So don't do anything to make it, lopsided in that sense, taking penalties and overextending yourself. So I like the Leafs tonight a lot at home. I think there's going to be a lot of energy. And again, we view everything from the past too, right? Like, we talk about, history and what's gone on and the lack of playoff success. But there's a lot of guys on this team that aren't scarred by that aren't jaded by that, because they're new and they're in the present right now. So I think that is important. And again, I think they're going to be in the moment. And I keep circling back to it because I think it's so important. Craig Berube's been training these guys all year to be ready for this sort of moment and to play the right style of game. And they have the pieces on the back end and in the pipes to really solidify that.
By the way, Austin Matthews, I guess, had a quote after the morning skate. I just listened to the body, and sometimes you just feel like you need a little bit of a rest or time off the ice. I think it's not a big deal. Okay.
That's it. You got to listen to your body, Nick. You got
quotes like that just scare the shit out of me. I don't want to overreact. Just go out there, do your thing, get some rest. That's a way to get rest. Win game 5, and then hope Florida and Tampa goes the distance. There's your rest.
Yeah. That would be effective
sometimes. I don't know
if Tampa's going to make it out past 5 either, though. It looks
I think it's curtains. That series is over, but less is more. I just go do your thing if you're Austin Matthews. I'm looking at the core 4 in general tonight. Elevate, fantastic 5, whatever you want to call them. Matthew Nyes has been a machine in this series. 3 goals. He has 6 and 18 career playoff games, but just the perfect type of playoff guy. And he's just showed up in a big way and adds a different dynamic, something they've been quite frankly missing since Zach Hyman. But ultimately, Leafs win this game. I think the fingerprints of the big 4 guys will be all over it. I think John Tavares had a really good series. I weirdly think there's another level for Nylander to get to, and Mitch Marner. Like, I thought Marner had his moments the last couple games, but I think there's another level. Like, these guys are that great, they can get to an even higher level than they've been at.
Yeah, I think so. Because I don't think they've had a ton of like game-changing, like just control the whole play like Nylander can, right? With his legs. He creates. He obviously is creating. He's getting points. He's doing that. But he can be a game breaker at any moment too. And I look for him to have a big game. He loves his moments, right? This is like what this guy is all about, is a big game player. So there's a few players I would love to see get into the mix, right? You talk about Bobby McMann, his physical play, where he can go generating something. But again, I feel confident where like in years past, if we were playing a different team, I guess maybe if we're talking about, where they're at and things to worry about, if Samsonov was a net, I'd be so hesitant to stuff, but I still feel so confident in the way this team is playing. They haven't really given me a reason to waver here, Nick.
Well, it's the blue line. I think it's been solidified. They're playing as one cohesive unit. The attention to detail. We had Bruce Boudreau on. If you missed it, go check out that interview when I posted. But the attention to detail defensively, guys behind the dot, not as many guys are flying the zone. They're picking their battles. They're picking their spots. Like, you put that all together, and that's why this team is finding success. And to your point, the offense has been there too. Like, I can't remember a postseason run, if you want to call it that, because they always seem to lose in the first round, where offense hasn't been an issue for this team. Every game they've been generating chances through 4 games, and you love to see that. Like, I think that's great perspective. The power play has been cooking. A lot to build off that. They got 5 power play goals in the series. They got 15 goals in total. There's a lot of positives to pull, and that's why I think people feeling pretty good. 24 points combined in 4 games, by the way, for the core 4. That's an average of 6 per game for them. But I do think they're a big story. But it screams a game of the bottom 6, like somebody doing something offensively.
Yeah. It's like something greasy.
Yeah. Like Bobby McMahon's a guy who I like the player. I love the player. I'd probably say 15-game goalless drought. Like, if there's a moment to step up and do your thing and put your team over the top, I think Bobby McMahon's a guy I've identified throughout this series. He's just been really, really cold. A very polarizing player, because when he's hot, and when he's not, man. It's crazy.
And I think an important factor in all this right now, in my opinion, I think Linus Ullmark dodged a bullet. Like, Linus is my boy. I'm buddies with him. I played with him, but like, I think he's been fragile. And I look back, so Bobby McMahon comes down. I believe it was an overtime when he snapped it right along the ice and it gets wedged under his skate. He doesn't know where it is. It doesn't seem confident. And then Domi had another shot in overtime where it like leaked through Linus and just went wide. He seems fragile right now. And I think this is, again, back to that point of just being on them right away, right out of the gates, making it hard, getting the first goal and watching those walls crumble, because he's got a bad past of playoff and his stats and what he's done. So I think that is going to be important to set the tone. And again, you talk about depth. It might be that matchup where, you get a good line matchup. You get an offensive draw with like maybe your third lines out there against one of their weaker lines, and they create something at the net, where I think that is where the game is going to be won tonight. And it's going to be direct and it's going to be hard. And I think once you have the lead, you have that experience to grind games out now, because you've been doing it all year.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. It's been pretty impressive. And I know Mark Savard's a big reason why, but the set faceoff plays are not really talked about a lot. But the Leafs have scored 35 times within 10 seconds after a faceoff. Like, think about that. And from a goalie's perspective, you're not necessarily thinking every time there's a draw in the O-zone that there's going to be a shot right away. And they've had a lot of success on that, and having guys in the trigger area, whether it's Marner, Nylander scored a bunch off a draw this season, but it's goals like that that I think could decide a series and a big time moment, whether it's scoring an OT or scoring a go-ahead goal in the third period. So something to look for here in Game 5. The D scoring has been big as well. Like, that's another thing I would throw to the conversation, Huts. Like, in general, this team has struggled to generate offense in the playoffs, but you're laughing if you scored 5 times from the blue line in 4 games after the season they put forth and the struggles of Riley and just scoring and putting anything to the net offensively. That's a big bonus. And again, that's why the Leafs find themselves where they're at. You put this all together, and there's a reason why you give yourself at least 4 opportunities to win this series here.
For sure. And that's why it's about building a team, right? And not having just core 4, just dynamic players. You have to find pieces that fit well and add around the perimeter. I think that's what they've done, especially on their back end. And I think a great moment for me was the other night when Benoit scored the winner from the point. Right before he scored, they showed a stat of the faceoffs, and I believe it was 31-10 in favor of the Leafs. And on cue, Matthews wins that puck back, and it ends up in the back of the net. And again, these are moments where you start looking to these games and we start talking about impacts and a third or fourth line. It may not generate the points on the sheet, but like maybe they get in and they pin a team down low and they have to ice the puck, and then you win a faceoff with your first line and you score. And this is what building is toward. It's these little pieces along the road that, finds a way to win a championship. And I think that is what's so important with this team is they're a complete hockey team now. They're not just a team looking to outscore you every night.
How about from the Ottawa perspective? What are you expecting from them? I think we saw some urgency. We saw some desperation. They got a big-time goal from Jake Sanderson, who I anticipate will play a lot of minutes. And I think the factor we talked about with Gabby, too, in home ice in the matchup game, I have to credit Craig Berube, whereas, like, Sheldon Keefe, it almost felt like at times he was just overcommitted to the matchup game where it would sort of ruin the flow, where Berube's just doing his thing, making notable changes when need be. Holmberg's been shifted around the lineup a bit. But I think for the most part, he hasn't overthought the situation, which I like to see too.
No, yeah, which is so important, right? And again, Bruce had touched on that about the overcoaching. Yeah. And for me, I think the experience come into factor here, where he doesn't seem flustered by the moment. He doesn't seem overwhelmed. This is a guy that demands your attention. He's a big man. He's a scary dude in the way he played the game. So I think that is important too, right? This is a guy that isn't just saying it. He lived it, right? He was a hard-nosed hockey player. So I think for Ottawa, there is going to be a chance for them to try to make some noise here, right? To try to get to them early, to see how fragile this team is in the sense of, like, if Ottawa gets the lead, now how do the Leafs respond? Are they that team that we know from history past, the team that lost a 3-1 lead to the Montreal Canadiens? Are they a team that knows how to deal with it, knows how to fight back? And I think if I was Ottawa, I'd be going about this kind of similar, right? I'd be trying to get to Anthony Stolarz, shots from the point, creating traffic, creating havoc. But that being said, it's easier said than done, especially with the back end that Toronto has. I think the worry for Ottawa would be trying to overextend themselves. You start to overextend yourself, you get out of position, you start giving up opportunities. And again, I think Ottawa in that room and their coaching staff would be lying to themselves if they thought they can play run and gun hockey with the Toronto Maple Leafs, because they're going to get outdone every day of the week. So for them, I think it's being smart, protecting their goalie, and then when they get those chances, trying to capitalize on Stolarz.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, you're almost at a level where you have to cheat because you're down 3-1 in this series, and the margin for error is razor thin this time of year. You need a lot of puck luck. You need the Leafs to just shit themselves. And there's a reason why going up 3-0 in a series, the stats read themselves, because I think it's so difficult to come back from, and to win 4 in a row in this day and age, I think going to be an extremely difficult task. But certainly from the Maple Leafs perspective, have a hot start, bury this team as quickly as you can, I think is a big key to victory here in Game 5 here of the Battle of Ontario. Want to get in on the action for Stanley Cup playoffs at Bet365? They got you. From game props, player props, totals, and the money line, you can even bet on futures like series winners, conference champions, the Stanley Cup champions, and much, much more. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. An official partner of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit ConnexOntario.ca. Any bets you are placing tonight, Huts?
Just because I've been beating the drum all day, I'm going to take the Leafs to score first tonight at home. I think that is going to be, then the Sens are going to have to cheat for offense. It's going to open the game up. Leafs to score first, come out flying here at home, Nick.
I'm going to side with producer Vic, who has had a lot of confidence since burying Anthony Stolarz over the weekend for the 17th time in this series. It's a running play on this show now, but I'm taking Leafs in 60. I think they're going to bury the Sens in this game. I don't want to say it's going to be similar to game one, but I would even look at the puck line. I think this Maple Leafs team is different. I think they're coming off an excellent game. We talked to Bruce Boudreau. He liked their effort too. They played well enough to win that game, and I think that'll continue. They've been really, really good on home ice through the regular season into this first round. They came out 6-2 with that win. Like, they understand the importance of winning game 5 and shutting the door on the Ottawa Senators. And I think we see that desperation. We see that urgency. So give me the Maple Leafs tonight in regulation, Huts. I love it.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. This is tonight. I'm going to be so fired up tonight for Zach's show too. I'm going to be just fired up. Leafs are going to seal it. We're going to be pumped up. I might start tailgating now. Get myself
do it.
Show.
Yeah, maybe take a nap before. Dizzy Delta 99, thank you so much for writing in. Huts, fellow Thunder Bayer here. Big fan, bud.
Nice. There we go. See, look at that. Tell them what the population is, buddy. I get jammed all the time for being from.
You guys just hang out on Friday nights, like all of Thunder Bay. You congregate at the community center, and you just, hey, the Stalls were really good, and Matt Murray won a couple cups.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we do, buddy. Yeah, you got us figured out. And then, oh man, now I'm getting fired up. Get this guy on the show. We're gonna have a guest here. I need some Thunder Bay backup around here.
Hey, I would love to get Matt Murray on the show. He's declined multiple times. So what can you do? He's in a playoff run right now for the Marlies, right?
That's it. He's focused. He's dialed in. You can't talk to the goalie on game day, Nick. Everyone knows.
No, it's true. By the way, I was at some of the morning skates in Ottawa. That Russian kid, I can't pronounce his name, so we'll just call him the Russian kid. Their third stringer for the Leafs right now. He is he's shades of Carter Hutton. He's not a big dude.
No, competes well though. Right? That's
yeah.
it.
Is that what they're saying?
You need some jam. No, and I agree. I think you need goalie depth though, like down the board, and who knows where it comes because the adjustment is so high. But man, you guys, as Toronto Maple Leafs fan, you have to be happy with where their goaltending is at. I still think Joseph Woll is the guy of the future. Me and Vic were chatting beforehand. I know he's beating that Woll drum all day, but I'm a big fan of where their goaltending is at. And Anthony Stolarz, signing of the year. That could be the signing of the year if they go to the distance here, Nick.
You're feeling that?
I don't know. Well, look at the contract he got. Yes, he was just been a backup.
Dude, this Russian guy, I had to look it up. Sorry to interrupt. He's billed at 6'1", 167.
Nice. I never was once. I was a little bit chubbier though. Yeah, I was usually floating around 2 bills, but I was 6. I'm a generous 6'1". My wife always says I'm 6 feet, but I say I'm 6'1".
No, you're pretty. You know what? I've seen you in person multiple times. You're taller than I expected. I don't know why. Like on TV, you look like a little turd, but
what? That's because I've been working on my pipes and chest, buddy. It's post hockey now. Now I do aesthetic work. Say no functionality. I'm just trying to get big.
Buddy, I have vivid memories of you stone cold in the Leafs in Buffalo because the Sabres owned the Leafs for so many years in Buffalo. So yes, you got a nice fat ticket from the Sabres. I do not forget that. Okay.
I think I was 5-0 at one point before I signed in Buffalo to play against the Leafs. Were my team there. That's back in the day when the Leafs were so bad. I was at the game. I was on the Preds when we beat you guys 9-2, and fans were throwing jerseys on the ice.
Yeah, I believe I was at that game too, and that hurt. I was wondering if an Ego was going to hit the ice for that game. It did not, unfortunately. But better times, I would say, for the Maple Leafs right now as we get set for Game 5. Any last words before we wrap your Huts?
Go Leafs, go, baby. Now we go.
Yes, baby. That's what I was looking for. Now we go. NationGear.ca. Again, if you don't have any plans for tonight, head down over to Greta Bar, YYZ, 590 King Street West. We're starting at 6 p.m., Myself and Zach Phillips put together a nice little pregame show as we get set for puck drop. We'll go over line combinations, just game plan advice, keys to victory, everything covered on TLN pregame. And then after dark coming away from Greta Bar as well with Zach Phillips and special guest Carter Hutton.
That's it, baby.
By the show. I love it.
Double duty today. Hey, look at this. Holy, I got a real job.
A double header. Now you know how baseball players feel. Just to wrap it, support of Sick Kids, NDM 6. Thank you so much for the super chat. Interesting handle. Nylander with the game-winning goal. Now we go. I love it. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you to Bruce Boudreau for stopping by today's show at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Thank you to producer Vic. For Carter Hutton, I'm Nick Alberga. Jay Rosehill back in the mix tomorrow. Talk then. Take care, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Roseau. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.